because they needed an visit. We observed that the ground was kind of unstable. It's a little sloped backyard, not a huge difference in elevation. But it was recently disturbed because of the pier. So we had recommended some stabilization for the soil that could be done. And then the drain spout that came off the house ran directly to the pier, so it was kind of washing out the fresh dirt. So we advised kind of rerouting the water some way away from the pier and just try to stabilize the land, because after the pier was installed, there was no erosion control measures installed. 2024, while in the area, we had observed some structures, which was the shed that's on the one portion of the house, and on the other side, we saw the top of a retaining wall, as well as a patio. In all, it comes to 625 square feet of new disturbance. It's 100 foot of a retaining wall, 315 square feet, which is the patio, and a 210 square foot shed. So this is just a snippet of the 2009 exception that was granted with the conditions. So it gives the exact amount that the house was allowed, that there are no additional encroachments such as the accessory structures, and that the encroachment for the house was allowed into the 50-foot landward portion, and that all best management practices would be followed. Here's the location map. As you can see, here's Carrollton Boulevard, here's the Dollar General. So if you come down Cedar Grove, and you turn down Lakeview, the house is towards the end. Here's just a close-up of it. The yellow tint that you see is going to be your Chesapeake Bay watershed. The green is going to be your approximate 100-foot RPA buffer, and the red is the flood zone. This picture, the bigger picture, is a 2001 aerial. It has the red line that you see is the approximate location of the retaining wall, the blue is the shed, and the orange is the patio that was installed. To the left-hand side, the smaller aerial, which is 2024, shows the encroachments that were placed in. You can't see the shed. It may be under the trees, or it may have happened after this aerial, but there is a shed to the side of the home as well. Here is a site plan showing it approximately in the shed location. According to the official as-built of the property, the reserve drain field is there, so that can be issues in the future if they need it to use the reserve drain field, because that space, the reserve drain field, actually abutted the 50-foot seaward line, so the shed kind of sits approximately on that. So in the future, that may be an issue trying to find a reserve space. These are the site pictures from 2022. As you can see, the original driveway area kind of caving in a little bit on the side. The pier, as you can see, is recently constructed. The ground's a little disturbed. The slope that you see on the last picture is going to be kind of like the neighbors, how you can see that it's fully vegetated and stable, and it's not a very steep slope. Here's just another picture of it. As you can see, looking at the neighboring property, theirs is vegetated. Not just freshly disturbed like this property was. 2024, here's the patio, looking from the driveway. So you can see the shed in the second picture. And this is headed down. They inserted stairs to access the pier. Looking at the retaining wall, as you can see, like I said, it's not too far from the rear of the home, is where it connects. The proposed landscaping for this, because it's under 800 square feet, that would be 2 landscaping units. This does meet the requirements for the riparian buffer manual. And the exception criteria. The Planning Commission shall not recommend in favor of the applicant unless it finds that the strict application of the ordinance would produce an undue hardship and would not confer upon the applicant any special privileges denied by this ordinance to other properties in the Chesapeake Bay area. The surrounding properties have similar slopes which are vegetated and had no need for a retaining wall. The previous 2009 exception had restrictions and conditions that prohibited any new encroachment of impervious surfaces, and the staff had proposed project denied in 2022, and the landscaper as well as the homeowners were notified per the application as well as the letter that was sent to them. The request does not constitute a hardship, and would grant a special privilege to the applicants if they were to remain. The second one is the exception request is not based on any conditions or circumstances that are self-created or self-imposed, nor does the request arise from the conditions or circumstances either permitted or non-conforming that are related to adjacent parcels. Staff had, again, previously informed the owners in 2022 about the exception limitations that were imposed in 2009, and the staff issued a rejection letter which stated the need for an exception if they wished to try and attain the retaining wall, driveway, and patio at that time. The driveway they asked for was not installed at the current time. The applicant had failed to contact the county to apply for the necessary exception or permits to build a retaining wall, shed, or patio, and without any of the necessary steps for the exception that were involved, such as a WQIA. So this is a self-created circumstance. The exception request is the minimum necessary to afford relief. The shed and patio are accessory structures, so they do not prevent the ability to use the property as the intended use for residential use, essentially. There's no request from other lots in the area for any erosion control issues or retaining walls, and hardened shoreline measures are not recommended in low wave action environments such as this location. And then other erosion control measures were offered during the 2022 site visit. The retaining wall, shed, and patio exceed the minimum necessary to afford relief. Number 4, the exception request will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of this ordinance, not injurious to the neighbors or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare, and is not of substantial detriment to water quality. The placement of the retaining wall, shed, and patio do not meet the purpose or intent of the ordinance, which is to safeguard the water quality through the protection of the existing buffers, such as vegetation that normally exists in these areas, and all of the above items lie within the 50-foot landward portion of the RPA. Number 5, reasonable and appropriate conditions are imposed which would prevent the exception request from causing a degradation of water quality. If this exception was approved, staff recommends that the applicant install the mitigation as you saw on the proposed landscaping, which would be 2 landscaping units that was found within the WQIA. The shed and patio be removed. The shed is also again on that reserve space that was saved for the property, so future issues with the septic tank, they'd have to find a new location if there was one, and that we ask that no further exceptions be granted. Staff conclusions, strengths are that, again, it does meet the proposed landscaping requirements that are in the riparian buffer manual. Some weaknesses are that the applicant's request does not meet the 5 criteria for granting an exception. All the encroachments were added without prior approval, and the installation was done after they had received a previous denial and were made aware of the 2009 exception, which had imposed certain conditions that prevented such things. Accessory structures are not permitted in the RPA buffer, and the wall and fill were not needed for stabilization in this area. If the main drain field again fails, the space for the reserve is in question, and the stability of the wall is unknown because it was constructed without any permits or inspections. Based on these findings, the staff recommends denial of the exception, and we've had some questions in the past on what we're doing to handle such violations. So we did put this last bullet in here, which is the Board of Supervisors may also issue an order against the applicant for a one-time payment of civil charges per violation, up to $10,000 per violation for failure to obey the supervisor or zoning administrator's notices, according to Section 5003C. Any questions?
Okay. Open the public hearing. If the applicant is present, they can come forward at this time. If they'd like to speak. And so, give us your name and your address, please.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Baker, 312 Lakeview Lane, Carrollton, Virginia. Excuse me, 23314. Unfortunately, I wasn't privy to the brief given, but I think I did send the 10 certified copies probably a year and a half ago. Hope you have those. Put them on the website. So a lot of one, I want to thank Shawnee for her work and professionalism throughout the process. As she knows, I've been gone most of the last 4 years. When the decision was made, I don't know that matter of fact, we did not receive the rejection of the initial permits, but I relied on a contractor I trusted. But as I said in my letter, that's on me. I own it. And so I open, certainly take any questions or comments or flaming arrows. My wife was not really involved in this, as she was dealing with other things while I was overseas. Everything she said is accurate, to the best of my knowledge. I would, although, encourage any of you to come look at my house because the erosion continues. And as I stated to Shawnee probably a year ago, I would submit we need another 100-foot of retaining wall because it continues to erode. And the erosion on the right side of my home, as you looked at the pictures, got within 4 foot. The erosion on the left side of my home, based on the last rainstorm we got, even with gutters and drainage systems installed and everything I can do to mitigate the issue, is continued to decline and is now down to the footers. I submitted some pictures online that shows I've lost nearly 18 inches of soil since we moved into that home. Well, since my wife moved into that home. I haven't been around much due to duties overseas. So the erosion issue continues. The location of the shed, what I did is put footers in front of the shed to keep, so if you look in front of the shed, it's actually preventing some of that erosion, but it continues. Every rainstorm, we lose more. It got to the point where I was home on leave and we couldn't access the dock. So again, this is on me and us, but I took the recommendations of the contractor at the time to build a retaining wall, to fill it in, to install a drainage system throughout. Look, there's no one who respects and wants more for the environment than me. I've been in many parts of this world where the oceans are nothing but polluted, and that is not us. Additionally, our driveway had sank, as you saw from the pictures in this letter from the contractor, over 6 inches. So the entire driveway was taken up. It wasn't extended. We didn't pour concrete. We put pavers in there with a drainage system to try to mitigate that. So these are our risk mitigations right to our home, and we continue to have issues now on the left side of our home. The soil just continues to erode. That part of the home receives no sun, so no matter what I try to plant in there, what we've tried to do, how much money we paid to have someone come in and try to mitigate the problem with erosion, the only thing I seem to be able to grow on the back of our house is moss. So, and that's not helping. I can't get grass to grow back there. I don't know what else to do on that side of the home, right? But I will say that the retaining wall has presented further erosion on that side of the home. The driveway continues, it's probably sunk an inch and a half, so even since it was installed. I don't know what to do on that side. I thought we did everything we could, but I will tell you truthfully, I was not, as I was dealing with a contractor from 8,000 miles away, I didn't see the denial of the permits. But I'll make no excuse. It's on us. And we, again, my wife and I acknowledge that it's not on a contractor, it's on us to make things right. But we didn't do anything that we thought didn't need to be done in the interest of our home and access to the dock and that part of the driveway and that part of the property. So I would defer to you. I certainly disagree with some of the assessment from the county, but I submitted the letter, I submitted everything we needed, we did all the studies. There's, in essence, by the numbers, there's no impact to water quality. And we offered double. The original letter asked for a certain amount of canopy trees and shrubs to be grown And I told it wasn't Mr. Stokes, I don't remember the name of the gentleman who did the studies, that we wanted to double that, because I want to mitigate it, I want to make it right. I don't think we're asking for too much, but I would like to plant that hillside again with things that'll, not only for the beautification of the property, but to negate the impact of anything we did to it. 625 square foot, I agree with Shawnee on that. We did the math back and forth a few times, and again, I appreciate working with me, because it's been a long process. And with that, to all you, ladies and gentlemen, I would take any questions or comments. But again, we own it, we did it. I did it from afar, and I did it really with the interest of my house, because I think really the house shouldn't have been built without a retaining wall. And I would argue I'll probably need 120 more square foot of linear wall to prevent the constant erosion that continues in our home. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. If we need you, we'll call you back,
Thank you.
okay? Is anyone present like to speak for or against this application? You can come forward. All right, seeing none, we close this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, there was one letter of support. It looks like from the neighbors at 314 Lakeview Lane from Jason Dominguez and Kimberly Road. We should enter into record.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, commissioners? Mr. Baker, I have a question for you. Yes, sir. If you'll come back to the mic. Did I hear correctly that you have a backup drain field?
Yes, we do. On that, from what I understand from the county plot, there's a backup drain field close to the resource protection area on the back left of the property.
Okay. All right. And your home was built in 2018? That's
Correct.
So we're talking 7 years now for this property. Okay. Okay.
So, again, I tried to provide any photos I could, and we got hundreds more from the beginning, but when I took the tape measure and showed where the line of the soil was on our brick footer, because it's a pretty significant slope. I know it was articulated that it was not, but at least from us it is, and it just continues to erode despite our best efforts for bigger gutters and bigger downspouts and drain pipes that go down to the wetlands. It just continues to eat away.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for your service too, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question for staff.
Okay.
Just for clarification, did the contractor apply for any permits and then was denied? Is that what?
Correct.
Okay.
What they originally was for the patio and the driveway extension, because they were going to extend the driveway to the side, which they did not do.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on for a second before you go also. I'm looking at this, and when we got this, I just kind of looked at it and said, here's a house that's, seemed like to me almost shouldn't have been built there. Looking at the way the land is eroding, and it seems like he's in a catch-22.
Potentially. So it was granted in 2009 as for, because it's a small lot, and it was in 68 when it was platted, so it was allowed to have an encroachment.
Right.
And I think that's why they put the limitations on it, was that going any further could potentially cause issues.
Okay.
And he has the ability to come back and apply for another exception, and then apply for the permits and submit engineering plans that show what he's putting out there would actually work.
Okay.
We don't have any guarantee that what was built, because it was built without permits, actually works, because we never reviewed the plans. So that's why we encourage people to come in, we review the plans, we get help from DCR for other shoreline, living shoreline erosion control projects, so that we can make sure that what's put out there and built will actually work for the property. And in this case, this didn't happen.
Okay. Thank you.
I have some questions for staff. When the house was built, were there any recommendations to mitigate this erosion at the time? I mean, I know it was before. you
There is
got
nothing
it.
reflected in the staff report and the approval letter that we received.
And what, did you recommend any other efforts to mitigate the erosion in 2022?
So we had talked about the drainage issues and stabilizing the store, because it was right after the pier was done, within a few months. So everything was just, so we said stabilize it, try and lay the straw down, try and replant it, try and stabilize like they normally do. They normally silt fences installed, they'll lay the straw and the netting down to kind of stabilize and hold it together. But it just wasn't done properly after the pier was.
My question, what can you do to fix this?
So looking up retaining walls, and in the WQIA, we're at 625 square feet now of disturbance. In the WQIA, it says it's 800 square feet of disturbance to remove it, so approximately 175 square feet more. You kind of pull it out slowly and then restabilize it as you go along. But take the dirt out first, then portions of the retaining wall down. And then as far as the patio, if it's installed a year and it's already sinking, still the driveway that's behind the retaining wall, and it's not working at the moment. They can try and work with VIMS, they can try and work with DCR to see other shoreline options, and how to stabilize it, but at this point, how it is, it's not working 100% as it should if it's still falling behind it.
And I'm just curious, because these are, like I asked earlier about the state, these are state regulations.
Yes.
Can the state come in and do anything about this? Like, let's say we approve it or whatever we, and it goes forward. If the state finds out, I mean, do they have any recourse to make them tear it down or?
So the state will not, if the locality approves it, then the state will not come back against the property owner because it's been approved. However, the county is subject to repercussions.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Regarding the building permit, sometimes building permits have a site inspection during the construction phase. Is there, in general for projects like this, is there some inspection points that were missed?
Well, they didn't apply, well, they applied for the permits, were rejected, so there were never inspections done.
Not this specific project, but in general, projects like this with a retaining wall or a hardened seawall, if somebody were to be approved, would that invoke inspection requirements that were also missed, or is it just the permit that was missed?
There are inspections that go with the retaining wall, but the building official goes out and makes sure that it's built to the standards. Depending on the height of the wall, depends on what standard it has to be built to.
Okay, I understand, thanks.
We actually recommend that property owners work with somebody who specializes in these kind of structures so that they're done properly.
Well, that, Mr. Chairman, that was my question. As far as the contractor is concerned, and no application was submitted. And I'm having an issue with the work that the contractor did. And if I were in that situation, I would go back to the contractor. See, because my thing is that perhaps the contractor didn't do diligence with what should have been done with the contour of that land and everything. And I think there are some missteps there, not so much with the county, but we hire contractors to do jobs, and we feel that they're going to do them correctly. And this is what I'm thinking. Any reputable contractor would have said, I need a permit to do this.
Right.
You know,
So,
if the contractor was
Yeah, that's
licensed?
what I wanted to ask the
Yes, it
owner.
was licensed.
So, licensed, so was permitting part of the contract that he was gonna,
Yeah, and I submitted his plans, is an enclosure to the full package that was submitted online. And I when I provided that to the county, look, that retaining wall is gonna be there long after we're all gone. There are 2 6x6 posts embedded in the ground in concrete and protected with 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch galvanized steel piping, right? So there's the wall, but there's a 6x6, and behind each 6x6, there's another 6x6. So I'm confident that the landscaper knew exactly what he was doing for the project, right? It's not the first one he works in this area. And I'm by no means in blaming him, but the wall's not going anywhere. And the steps he put in, we didn't even put in steps that could move. We had him cut pieces of stone, and he put them in with a forklift, so they didn't go anywhere. And that's where the erosion was, going down to the dock. But I did provide that. But I think if you were able to look at the specs that he wrote up, and I included his enclosure, you'll see that there's no question that wall's going to be there a long time after I'm gone, at least. Perhaps I'm older than most of you. But to the point, right, if we can mitigate it with however many trees, and we want more trees. We've lost too many, especially these last few windstorms, to where I got to get a tree guy to cut down some beautiful trees that have been blown in half. That we can all mitigate, right? What my concern is now that and the issue on the patio now is not, from what we had someone else come in and look, was the constant, which is not common to this area, the constant water, snow, and then freeze. It separated some of the pervious. The original letter said we poured concrete. We did not pour concrete. It was pervious paddles with the design drainage system. Again, and I included all that to mitigate. So the drainage went through filtration and not just into the swamp. We have dogs. I don't even throw our dog feces back there. I don't fertilize anymore like we used to in Wellington Estates, because I'm very conscious of that, what we're putting into the water. So my point is, along those lines, the construction was done professionally, sir. I'm 100% confident in that. The issue is on me and making decisions from a ways away, and that's not an excuse. That's just the situation I was in. And so our concern going forward is not so much the left side of our house. It's what continues to wash away on the right side. And I would agree, sir, that if we would have known these were issues, we wouldn't have built a house there. Right? We thought we're bonding, you go there, it's a beautiful view. We built a smaller house with a bigger view. And we thought it would be our, kind of forever home as I retire in the future. So the concern is, I don't know how to resolve the issue we continue to have on the right side of the home without an additional retaining wall that can prevent the erosion from going over the side. Because it continues to go to the point is there are trenches now, and they just get deeper and deeper with each subsequent rainstorm. Again, please come look. And I've tried to provide as many pictures as I could. I think there was a limit on the amount of bites I could put on the website, but I took a ton of pictures to show the erosion and how it continues to go and how we continue to deal with it. And at this point, I'm not sure what our resolve is to protect our house on the right side, because it's already down to the footers. I've thrown gravel down. I've tried bigger gravel. I've tried anything that's, in accordance with. I'm not trying to violate anything more than I've already violated, but it is a continuing problem. So, sir, I would argue you're absolutely correct that we probably never should have built the house there. Or perhaps it had been a little more forward and a retaining wall put in before it was ever built. Because that hillside, despite everything, and I brought in no less than 6 truckloads of, I paid, though, a tree company who just wants to get rid of their mulch, and I've filled that entire hillside twice since we've been there, to the concern of my own septic tank, because he had to drive over it to get to some parts of the property. So I filled that side with mulch and retaining strips, anything that was biodegradable that I thought we could do. But it just washes in, and those wetlands, as you well know, just absorb everything. And so as the rain comes, it just goes away. So I'm kind of at a loss. I don't know what more to do. The things we did do seem to be working. They're not imperfect. We did disturb, again, 625 square foot. I can move the shed, not a big deal, but right now the shed is providing me at least a small buffer because I put wood in front of it to prevent it from eroding more underneath the shed. So again, over to you, right? You're smarter than I'm on this, but I'm doing everything I can really to protect my house. And that's what it came down to more than anything. My mom fell walking down to our dock and fractured her hip. So I put the steps in. I put steps in that wouldn't dissipate with erosion. I put cut stone. That's where we're at. So I just ask for your understanding of where this wasn't something we wanted to do for any reason other than really more than just to protect our home. And it's there. It's you can come see it. And it needs, without the retaining wall on the right side of the home, we're going to have the same issue for years to come, and I'm at a loss on how to resolve that and not be in further violation. So thank you for your time.
Was it the same contractor who put the retaining wall in as did the work to the drive surface, the pavers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So they took the entire driveway up. They raised it by 6 inches to level it with additional gravel. And with this time with the drainage system installed underneath to try to alleviate the sinking. It hasn't been as bad. It's been in, I guess, a couple years now. So it's not perfectly flat anymore, but it certainly has helped the drainage. And I see, because the long drainage pipes go down, so I see the water going through there after it gets all the way through, and that's 4 to 6 feet deep. So the water's getting through the filtration and going out to the wetlands. But he did, yeah, also do, he used the existing pavers, but we had to have it all taken up and then resurfaced and put back down.
So to help paint the perspective, because that was performed, I think it was mentioned, and I don't recall who, that there's some sinking going on in the drive surface.
Right.
From your perspective as a homeowner, is that an area that will need to be readdressed at some point, or is it?
Well, my hope now is, although it seems to have settled, but over the course of the first 4 years, right, it was from our garage to the edge of the driveway, the paver driveway, had gone down over about 6.5 inches. So it just kind of tilted like this as it went down the hillside. So they removed the entire driveway. We didn't extend the driveway. We used the existing footprint, but they brought all the pavers back up, put about 6 inches of gravel and surface, subsurface down, and then relayed the pavers on top. And that seems to have, again, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Thank you.
Question for Ms., is it Bess?
Besink, it's fine.
Besink, thank you. With what you are recommending, like, that he would come back and you could, tweak things and look at things, what your recommendation, with what you're recommending to do, would that help with the right side of the house that he's having problems with?
We didn't know there was an issue on that side of the house until today, so. At the moment, there's nothing on that side proposed that would handle that side of the house.
And I'm just curious, are you, the homeowner, willing to work with the county to address their concerns with how this was built and to maybe redo some things at their recommendation?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And Sean, we have talked regularly. Again, I appreciate her working with us. I thought we had talked, I think there was just some email exchanges about the right side of the house, but she's busy and wasn't able to perhaps look. But I did provide, that's why I provided the plans, right? So the retaining wall as built is not going anywhere. The way it was built is well above what even the Army Corps of Engineers recommend, outside of laying the boulders. So I would absolutely like to work with the county, because again, my concern is now the right side of the house and not having the ability to, I mean, ideally, that retaining wall would go all the way across the back, so I could just be done with it.
I'm wondering if maybe at this point, if we can table this and then have you and Ms. Bissing get back together and come up with a plan, and then come back to us with the final.
Certainly, ma'am, I'm willing to.
I mean, I don't know, that's just,
Ms. Buckingham, I have similar concerns as that. One, you know, there question of whether if it's built adequately or not adequately. You know, while the construction description was provided, the permit and the inspections weren't. And so somebody who's qualified to, you know, from the county, I think should look at that and say, you know, is there inspections that were missed that we just can't see now? Or
Right.
somehow take an assessment on, is
And
there
I think,
adequacy
sir,
there?
that can certainly, we could dig down to, you know, it's not real low below the surface where you can see the 2x6. I mean, that's only maybe 18 inches below the surface.
I think it would be, to grant it would be, you know, questionable to not know the building standards of it. And then two, it sounds like there's not a full solution to your problem here. This, you know, while, looking at this problem might resolve half of the house, the other half isn't resolved. That might take an engineering solution. You know, it sounds like you might have to be dealing with staff anyways.
Right.
And so I lean in the direction with you, Ms. Boykin, that the full solution ought to be achieved.
especially since you're saying that you've already had some thinking with, you know, what's been done now with the patio and the pavers and stuff.
Right, that seems to have resolved our issue on the left side of the home. But as you see, because of this, and there's a gentle slope from the front of the lot all the way back to the wetlands. And so and we have grass, but I can't do anything about that back corner of the house because of lack of sunlight. I just can't find a solution to keep the soil from continuing to, you know, when the retaining wall was put in, there was about 6 inches from the top to the ground level, and now that's about 1.5 inches, and that's all soil that has eroded and just kind of leveled out. But as soon as you get on to the right of that retaining wall, it just goes down the hillside. To include a couple areas where there's been trenches. We had, you know, we lost a big tree to lightning that went away, that was kind of holding up that one part of the hillside on the right, and it's dead and gone and had to be cut down, unfortunately. So that's the side I'm concerned with most, because everything flows generally from the right of the house down towards Brewers Creek. It's kind of a gradual flow. All the water's going to flow the direction of the main creek, and so that's the direction it kind of goes, almost out of, I won't say a 45-degree angle, but an angle, so it just flows down and continues down the waterway. So, you know, despite my best efforts with wood chips and things like that on that side of the house, I just haven't had any luck to keep it from continuing to erode. So right now, the right side is stable. The left side is stable. The right side continues to be problematic.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Ms. Ring one question? Just for my clarity, the denial in 2022, was that this plan that they constructed?
Yes.
And the denial was to the contractor that constructed the project?
As I understand it, he's the contractor applied for the permits.
And the contractor was denied the permits and knew he was denied and continued to build the project?
That was my question.
If he's a licensed contractor, then he knows he's supposed to have
I have to go
permits.
through that. I said that.
Is it actually being taken?
I just wanted to make sure it was the same
Address that
plan
one
that was submitted, that,
We
that was built.
can file charges in circuit court or negotiate a other fine. We can charge him and ask the judge to impose a fine of $5,000 a day for willfully disobeying the Board of Supervisors' original approval as well as the ordinance. Or the Board of Supervisors can impose a $10,000 charge against him in lieu of going to court.
Well, it's a
That's one
willful
thing we can offer.
violation. I kind of
It
view
is.
that as separate from the applicant in this case, because the contractor was involved, that was aware of the denial.
Did the contractor ever relate to the homeowner that had been denied?
Yeah, that's my question too.
Yes, sir, I want to make it clear,
He did.
he did. Yes, sir.
Continued anyway.
I did. I was doing, again, I was not there to look at things. I trusted him. I said, fix my home, right? I'll deal with everything else later, right? That's where I was at. I'm gonna go into the situation at the time, but again, I was not in a real enviable position to make educated decisions. So he said, Jeff, this is what needs to be done to prevent the erosion on the home. So I don't want to fault my contractor, right? I told him to continue on. That's on me.
But you were making a long-distance response, and you were in military, right?
Yes, sir. This
Not in
was,
the most friendly environment, I take it,
I'm sorry?
and not in the most friendly environment.
Correct. And so, I relied on him, I trusted him. I think he probably knew, I'm not arguing he didn't know, but I told him I need to fix my house. So I come home, it's there, right? And I was getting pictures, right, which were disturbing. And again, my wife was not, she was privy to them, but I was making decisions. I don't get to make a lot of decisions, but she let me make these ones, wrongfully so, perhaps. But so again, I don't want to fault him because you're correct, Mr. Rawls. That was my decision. He articulated, he applied, but he also clearly articulated with photo and through written statements of what the issue was and that it was going to continue to get worse. So 100% on me.
Has the contractor offered in any way to, if this is denied, or if there's anything that the county comes back and asks for, has he offered any way of getting involved in that process and helping to?
He has, and that's when he provided the written plans. I asked him for the exactly how he designed it, which he had sent to us prior in terms of how he constructed it. This is not a situation, he's not a one of. He's a reputable contractor in the area who works primarily in Suffolk and Isle of Wight. So he essentially said if we need to fix something, we'll fix it. Out of cost to us, but that's on, again, that's on me. But yeah, I think if you review the plans you submitted, it's a robust, the retaining wall is not going anywhere. I just at that time, the expense of laying a large stone along the entire hillside was prohibitive. I wish it wasn't, but I wear a uniform to work. So there was some limitations, some constraints, and when it came to the financial part of this, I said I just need to make sure the hillside doesn't go anywhere and it's not getting any closer to my house. So again, I don't want to fault him or his business in any way. That would be unfair, because I told him to do the work.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
In the spirit of trying to help Mr. and Ms. Baker, trying to resolve this, because they're in a pickle. They're in a situation that is really kind of boxing them in, for lack of better terminology. What is it that we can do in the interim to buy them a little time on trying to work this thing out? And I heard what our environmental planner said, well, we could probably do this, to kind of mitigate what's happening. I mean, are we in a position to table this or extend it to see if, that would work with her plan? If you could call her back up, perhaps.
As we said, make a recommendation to table this and allow your planning commission to work with Mr. and Mrs. Baker to come up with a possible solution.
I mean, your solution that you kind of counseled them on, is that something that, and I take it that you made that description of the work without looking at what's there now?
We had looked at it at the time, and discussed it, and then going over like stormwater suggestions and how to stabilize it. That's how I came up with what I came up with.
Okay, but
To move
did-
forward, maybe BIMS.
did you go out there recently to?
In 2022, and we went out in 2024 as well,
Okay.
just to look at.
You know, because, I mean, we could be here and go back and forth with this, and there has been acknowledgement of some missteps and mistakes made. But, I mean, I'm just trying to, you know, try to figure out a way to, first of all, help you guys save the property, you know, the investment that you made in this, that they made in this land and this dwelling place and everything. But it seems like it's continuing to go downhill, no pun intended,
I think
you know?
we just had a similar issue a couple months ago, I believe it was, and we allowed the applicant then to try to work with the county. It's up to the applicant if they want to really work. I was just also looking at staff's recommendation right here is that if we approved it, that the applicant is required to install a mitigation landscaping, and also the shed and patio be removed if we went that route. I'm thinking on the same line as I think this side right here is thinking. I think we ought to possibly table this to give them at least an opportunity to try to work with staff to come up with some type of solution.
And I would say, and I'm on the outside looking in, but I would say, I would look at another contractor.
This,
Just saying.
this is just gonna, it's gonna be double the cost.
I can't help that, but you're trying to prolong the life of this property and this house that's on that property.
I hear what you're saying, but if he's working with the contractor now that he's already paid, he has a relationship with him, and if he, the contractor, and the planning commission can get together and come with a reasonable plan that meets the requirements, then I think that's. and I'm not
Commissioner
saying it's
Gibbs, I
fine.
said that initially,
Yeah.
about going back to the contractor,
So,
you know? So I'm just trying to find a way forward.
I had 2 points on this. It's an unfortunate scenario with the erosion. But if it's tabled, at least from my opinion, it would be the homeowner's responsibility to work, improve technical adequacy of the build in the absence of a permit and those inspections. And the county in good faith should work with what you provide. If that retaining wall is part of the, is going to stay. But tabling it also would be, a second part would be, it's not a full solution, so the other side of the house that may need an engineering solution,
Gotta address it.
also address that, so so if it is an exception, it's one by incrementally accepting within this area.
sounds like a recommendation to me.
Okay. I mean, you have to address it, because one thing is gonna lead to the,
Is there a motion?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
I just, along the lines you're saying, we did, the mitigation was developed in terms of the trees and the shrubs and so forth for the water quality impact. It was done with another contractor.
Okay.
Who is, again, well-known in our area, and we decided to move on from the previous contractor, and there were some other, but we would deal with another contractor that is licensed and insured in our county.
and whatever necessary permits that you need to get
Yes, sir.
to the work, you gotta get them,
Yes, sir.
gotta do it.
Make a motion.
Because Commissioner DeStefano had the 2 parts, and I don't want to miss your second
Yeah,
part.
so I table this, or I recommend that we table this, I'll make a motion that we do. The 2 things I think should be addressed is, one, the homeowner work with the county, and the county work in good faith for the homeowner to demonstrate that the build met the building requirements to the maximum extent, given the absence of permit and the absence of building inspections. And then 2, make an effort to make it a full solution that addresses both sides of the house so that this is a, seen once, twice incrementally.
Second.
On the part,
Question? Go
on
ahead,
the
sir.
part, I'm sorry, someone read in this, I just don't like the word good faith, it means that they haven't been working in good faith all along.
Yeah, none of that was applied, by the way. I'm just
Okay.
saying that at the end of it, ultimately, it would be the applicant proving that the build is adequate and then requested that, staff is, takes a position on that, it is or it is not. That way, this board is not voting on something without having the qualifications to judge technical adequacy of the builds.
I agree. As long as the building department's involved.
Right.
Reviewing the original plans and visiting the site to make sure that the work that was on the plan was done.
Right. Second.
I think Mr. Ford had already said it already. You just had it unready, that's all it was, okay. Roll call, man.
Jennifer Boykin,
Yes.
Thomas Stefano,
Yes.
James Ford,
Yes.
George Rolls,
Yes.
Raynard Gibb,
Yes.
Matthew Smith,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Bobby Bowser.
Yes,
Motion passes.
all right. It's tabled, and asking Mr. Baker to work with county staff to resolve the issue. Thank you very much. Okay, can we go to the next
Can you set this up?
application here?
Do you have this up there?
Application REZN 2414 of Williams Timberlands LLC, property owner, for a change in zoning classification from rural agriculture conservation to conditional rural residential of 5 acres with Crawford condition for no further subdivisions of the new lot.
Good evening, Sandy Robinson. My application tonight is for the Williams rezoning request from RAC to rural residential. Tax map number of this property is 4601035A. The property is located on Tar Road. It's zoned RAC. It's in election District 5, and the request is to rezone approximately 5 acres for a single-family residential lot. The owner purchased the property along with 5 others in this community in 2008 of sustainable forest. The tract contains 50 acres, which is vacant and wooded. The sliding scale rezoning requirements in the RR district allow for 1 new single-family lot from this tract. If the rezoning is approved, the parent tract will have no more rezoning options. The proffer on this lot is that it will have no further options, including family members. The capital impact model shows that the existing capacity in the public facilities in the southern end of the county. The proposed zoning is consistent with the future recommended land use plan. The request meets the minimum requirements of the zoning district. There are no special flood hazard designations, and this property is not in the Chesapeake Bay overlay district. This is a location map of the property. If you were to travel here towards Windsor, you would go down Courthouse Highway until you pass the elementary school. You would turn right on Tar Road. You go out Tar Road a mile or so, and as you see, there are nothing out there but trees, pine trees, because this was a Union Camp Sustainable Forest farm. This site is in yellow outline is the 50 acres, and the 5 acres itself is in the corner furthest from 258. Something felt wrong, I apologize. I'm sorry. Also, you can see here that the zoning in the area, there are some residential zonings in the area, and there are a lot of other single-family residential area in the community. Mostly it's wooded, but does have single-family residential.
If you're looking for your glasses there when you're here.
No, I wasn't. I felt like I was missing a slide. Anyway, we have plenty of slides, so it's fine. The land use plan calls for this area as REC because it's not a new development service district, and there are some economic development standards out there for the conservation, but it doesn't impact this piece of property except in that right corner in the back, and that site is not in that vicinity. This is the exhibit that was drawn up showing the 50-acre tract, showing the lot 1 is proposed on the north end of that tract. As you go down Tar Road, you see Pine Tree Farms. On this particular picture, I'm going out past, like I said, Courthouse Highway, and I'm going towards, probably I think it's by Tower Road or Garrison Drive, and the property is on the left. There's a rezoning sign showing the property that is on the left going in that direction. It's fully wooded in that area, totally. The following departments have no concerns with the rezoning application as presented. General Services, Fire and Rescue, Environmental Planner, VDOT, Alawite County Health Department, and the County Attorney. The strengths of this application are that the proposed use is compatible with existing land uses in the vicinity, the proposed use is within the guidelines of the future land use plan, and we have not determined any weaknesses at this time. Based on the strengths of the application, staff recommends approval of the rezoning application as conditioned. The applicant's attorney is here to represent his application.
All right. We'll open the public hearing for this application. And is that you, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
I'm in living color.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Chairman Bowser and ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, my name is Al Jones. I practice law at 1600 South Church Street, Smithfield, Virginia. I'm here representing Williams Timberlands, LLC, and am glad to provide you something straightforward, a bit easier than what you had to deal with just recently. We ask you to accept the staff recommendation, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions, but I hope there are none. Seems straightforward.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
If anyone present like to speak for or against this application, you can come forward at this time. All right, seeing none, we close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Chair, make a recommendation we approve this application.
Second.
All right, got a motion? Roll call, please, Amanda.
Jennifer Boykin,
Yes.
Thomas DeStefano,
Yes.
James Ford,
Yes.
George Ross.
Yes.
Raynard Gibbs.
Yes.
Matthew Smith,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Bobby Bowser.
Yes,
Motion passed.
that was too easy for Mr. Al Jones.
Thank you. I like it.
Let's go to the board supervisor with
April 17th.
April 2nd. April the what?
17th.
17th meeting. All right? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank all of you. Thank you.
Early Christmas present. Next application, please, Amanda.
Application CSUP 24-5 of Pyramid Network Services applicant and Elizabeth Shabbat and Joseph T. Epps Jr. and Deborah DeShiel, property owners, for a conditional use permit to establish a communication tower use on approximately 1 acre located on Old Stage Highway on tax map number 0601043 in the Rural Agricultural Conservation Zoning District.
All right.
Good evening, Trent Blow with the planning staff here to present the conditional use permit 24-5. Tax map number is, as Ms. Amanda read, 0601043. It's in District 3. The zoning is RAC, and the conditional use permit is for a communication tower on property zone RAC. And it's approximately 1 acre that will be dedicated to the lease area for the communication tower. The property is 1 acre out of a total of a larger tract of 239 acres. It's currently being used as a farm. 4 lots were subdivided from the original parent tract. 3 of those lots being dedicated to residential uses and 1 lot currently being vacant. The applicant submitted a request for conditional use permit for the communication tower in October of last year. This is your location map. Property is outlined in yellow. If you continue traveling north on Old Stage Highway, you'll run into Burroughs Bay Road. It depends on who says that word, how you pronounce it. I think it's Burroughs Bay. So that's that. And this is the close-up of that same property. The location, the lease area is approximately 775 feet from the roadway and 1,000 feet from the nearest residence and 1,000 feet from the nearest property line to the north side. The zoning is RAC as stated, but majority of the property surrounding it is also RAC. And the land use, again, is RAC as well. Some appropriate land uses for RAC would be agriculture or horticulture. This is a conceptual plan, just 1 page of their conceptual plan. This is going to show you the location of the antennas. There's 5 antennas built on a concrete pad with some additional electrical equipment, that being a cabinet and 2 H-frames. They proposed landscaping on the north and south side of the project. The reason for that location of the landscaping is so that the antennas aren't blocked when they're trying to communicate with low orbiting satellites. As you can see again at the bottom left, it shows you some of the distances from the roadway and the property lines. You can also see some of the parcels to the south at the top right of that, the bottom corner. Those are the existing houses on the property. And this is just an image from on site. This is standing on Route 10, looking back towards where the site will be. Image on your left is going to show some of those existing residences that I mentioned in the previous slide. The image on your right, I just wanted to include, this is a part of the existing drive, but if you look to the top right corner, you can see an existing communication tower far off to the, I believe that's the south. And this would just be standing in an approximate area looking towards where the site would be, and this is northwest. These are some of the images that the applicant included in their application. These are elevations to show what the compound could look like. So you're going to see some of the existing farm surrounding it. You see some of the landscaping, and you see the compound itself. They plan to not update, but complete the gravel drive. There's an existing 15-foot wide gravel drive from Route 10. They would just extend it to the project site, but it's proposed to be in gravel again. And this is just another image just looking west. You can see the antenna there and some of the electrical equipment and some of the additional landscaping on the, I think that's the north side of the property. Communication tower is defined as a structure on which an antenna or dish is installed for transmission, broadcasting, or receiving radio, television, radar, or microwaves, any similar type of device. As I showed you earlier in the concept plan, the applicant is proposing 5 ground-mounted antennas at 12 feet in height each. The additional equipment are generators and 2 H-frames and an electrical cabinet. Site layout would include that 15-foot wide gravel access that I discussed, 4,424 square foot of compound area. So that's the acre that they're dedicating to the lease area, and then a 6-foot tall fence for the compound and the landscaping. These are some of the criteria to consider when granting conditional use permit. I'll read through some of these. The first is will not be detrimental or endanger public health, safety, or general welfare. Ingress and egress is so designed to minimize traffic congestion on public streets. It's not contrary to the goals and objectives of the Alawite County Comprehensive Plan, and will not result in multiplicity or saturation of similar uses in the general neighborhood. Some of the conditions you can impose. The degree to which the development is consistent with the generally accepted engineering and planning principles, the orderly growth of the neighborhood and community and fiscal impact on the county, the number of persons living and working in the immediate area, and proposed hours of operation, or the preservation of culture and historical resource landmarks. Just some of the conditions you could impose. During the agency review, we submitted it to the Alawite County Museum, who recommended a full Phase 1 cultural resource survey be provided. The cultural resources study that they provided essentially was a desktop analysis with a site visit. Didn't include shovel testing, which the Alawite County Museum recommended. VDOT stated that any work inside the right-of-way requires permitting, and they also stated that any utility installation within the right-of-way needs to be owned and maintained by a public utility company. Sent it to our utility services or our engineering department. Each stated comments will be provided if approved at the preliminary site plan process. That to include E&S or any of those measures. Strengths and the weaknesses. The first strength is the application provides needed services for underserved rural areas in the county. Second strength is the nearest residence is approximately 1,000 feet away. And the last, the project area is only a small portion of an existing site, 1 acre out of 239 acres. The 2 weaknesses that I listed in my staff report and in this presentation is that the Phase 1 study does not include shovel testing. Because the project is proposed in an area of the county that has sites that are high probability for archaeological sites. That's why we're recommending the full Phase 1 if approved, to just confirm there are no sites or archaeological sites under the ground that weren't established during the site visit. And the second weakness is the noise study for the project is not a current site, but a similar site the applicant has constructed. So they provided a noise study, but it was for a site in Everson, Washington. In that noise study, that they said that the equipment that would be used would not exceed 45 dBA, which is lower than normal conversation on the dBA scale. But the noise study wasn't specific to this site, so that's why staff recommended a noise study if approved as a condition of approval. Based on the identified strengths and weaknesses, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit with the following conditions. Two I just read. The first is that the full phase 1 study be performed with a shovel test submitted prior to site plan. The second is the noise study shall be provided prior to approval of the preliminary site plan. Any recommendations found in that study shall be implemented as approved by the zoning administrator. And the last recommendation or condition is the site shall be screened from the road with 3 staggered rows of evergreen landscaping planted at a maximum of 10 feet on center along the perimeter of the site as approved by the zoning administrator. That's just to help shield some of the view from the roadway. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Applicant is here as well to speak to the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Below. We open this public hearing, and the applicant is present. They can come forward now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Great.
Good. My name is Erin Lane, and you need my address, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
4804 Jefferson Street, Kansas City, Missouri. I am with Vertical Bridge. I'm the project director. Pyramid, who is the applicant, was doing that on our behalf. So I would like to go with staff's recommendation for the approval with the conditions, and I'm here to answer any questions. I also have a gentleman with my engineering team if there's any technical questions that you guys have that I can't answer.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present who'd like to speak for or against this application? Please come forward. Give us your name and your address, please.
Yes, good evening. How are you all? I'm Deborah Epps DeShiel. I'm the 3rd generation owner with my cousin and my brother of the property. The location of the site is very far off the road, and you would not even probably be able to see it because of the way that the land lays. So the land kind of lays like this. So the screening of the trees would probably be very acceptable. As a person who lives in Isle of Wight County and lives at 10471 Berry Hill Farm Lane, which is just down the road, and I am married to a farmer, and my 2 sons farm as well. The husband's a 4th generation farmer, and my 2 sons are 5th generation farmers. We farm the property where this will be. My brother lives there. I own a house there that my parents are deceased in, that my son's getting ready to move into. And the other house that's on the farm was subdivided by my cousin and sold off many years ago. I do not have adequate internet services at the home I live at now. As a person of this county, during COVID and during all of those things and periods of time, it was very difficult for my family to function a business out of our home, have a son who was at Virginia Tech who had been sent home to do schoolwork, another son who was in high school, and myself who should have been able to work at home 40 hours a week. We can't even stream a TV show at the house we're on now with Dish. So this would not just benefit me financially by subleasing this piece of property out, but it would benefit all of the people in our area. It is a great need in our community, as everyone in this room should know. So I don't have anything further to say. I feel that it's off of the road. That was one of the things that we wanted. We didn't want it right up in everybody's face when they went down the road, and I think it would be a good service for our community. That's all I have to say.
And you will be still farming that land?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else like to speak for or against application? All right, hearing none, seeing none, we close the public hearing. All right, commissioners?
I have 2 questions, maybe Mr. Blow, the engineer, can answer. What's the power source going to be, and what's the access for that? Is that not part of the site plan?
They way off the road.
Yeah, correct.
Hi, I am Colin Camp, project engineer working for VB Edge on the project. My address is 454 West Valley Avenue, Elysburg, Pennsylvania, 17824. So there is an existing utility pole located along East Stage Highway, or Old Stage Highway, pardon me, that will be connecting power and fiber to. And that will follow the existing gravel driveway up through, and then once we start our driveway, we'll follow that up through into a 25 by 25 foot utility area housing all the public utilities for the connections to the satellite antennas.
Overhead or underground?
Underground.
Good.
You got another question, right?
No, sir. That was it.
Sure?
I am.
All right. All right.
I just have a comment. Coming on the heels of the big warehouse, since I feel like I had to fight to get a noise study done for that, I'd just like to say that I'm glad to see that staff is getting on board with doing noise studies.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to recommend approval.
All right.
With staff
Second.
recommendation, with the staff recommendation.
With staff recommendations, correct.
Yeah. Second.
Both of them said at the same time now, I don't know.
She can have it.
We can have it.
Whoever.
It was you and Mr. Gibbs, I think it was.
Age before beauty, so let me.
Mr. Gibbs said age before
You can give
beauty,
it to
so I
Mr.
don't know which
Gibbs.
one of that could be either one of them.
Still no decision.
Okay, we'll say Mr. Gibbs this time, okay?
Well, I am older than he is.
Roll call, please, Amanda.
Jennifer Boykin,
Yes.
Thomas DeStefano,
Yes.
James Ford,
Yes.
George Rawls,
Yes.
Raynard Gibbs,
Yes.
Matthew Smith,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Bobby Bowser.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, this will go to the board
We
meeting,
need that up there.
April 17th, with approval. Yes, sir.
Very much.
All right, thank you. All right.
How do you use it?
Boy, did you want to talk about noise and solar?
Aren't we still waiting for a noise study?
All right, let's go to the next application. Last one, please, Amanda.
Proposed revisions to the industrial use and utility cabinet zoning ordinance setback requirements.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Amy Ring. I'm the county's Community Development Director. Your last public hearing item tonight for your consideration are the proposed industrial use and utility cabinet setback zoning ordinance revisions. Staff, as you recall, staff presented potential revisions to the utility cabinet setback requirements at your August 27, 2024 regular meeting for discussion. And then following that, based on public input as well as by direction from the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission, staff presented proposed revisions to the minimum setback requirements for industrial uses adjacent to existing residential lots at your September 24th, 2024 meeting. The next following months, you continued your discussions on both items until your February 25th, 2025 meeting, where you directed staff to go ahead and advertise both items for public hearing at your next meeting. The most recent red line version of the proposed setback requirements for the industrial use revisions include a 100-foot setback applied to the side and rear property lines of industrial development with one building and 200 feet for industrial development with two or more buildings adjacent to residential subdivisions of 5 lots or more recorded on the same plat prior to July 1, 2025. Shall be a buffer of at least 3 rows of staggered evergreen landscaping planted a maximum of 10 feet on center, in addition to a berm of at least 10 feet in height. There will be a sound wall or other mitigation measure required as recommended in the sound study, as approved by the zoning administrator. And there's also the ability to apply for an exemption from the Board of Supervisors following a recommendation from the Planning Commission. So the ordinance requirements, as you recall, and the discussions that we've had over the last following months, there was an original request to have a 300-foot setback, but you all discussed it some more and you decided that we would reduce that setback requirement to 100 feet with one building and 200 feet for 2 or more buildings to recognize the increased density or the increased intensity of use for planned industrial developments with more than one user, as well as to try to be more in line and competitive with other adjacent localities. The enhanced setbacks apply to the side and rear property lines only because the ordinance currently requires a 100-foot setback from the front yard setback. There are other proposed performance criteria for industrial uses if an existing residential subdivision if located across the street. The second set of revisions deals with the utility cabinet setbacks. We are proposing to add an item 8 to section 5-2000H, where there would be an exemption of yard setback requirements for electrical, water, or wastewater utility cabinets for not measuring not more than 6 feet in height and 8 feet wide. And they shall be allowed to encroach into the required setbacks in order to allow consolidation of these services in smaller areas by the utility companies and services, and would reduce the requirement to have to go into private property in order to maintain these structures. So staff recommends approval of the proposed ordinance changes. I'm available for questions following the public hearing.
All right, thank you very much. Open public hearing for this application. Is there anyone present to like to speak for or against the application?
Walter Freeman, I live at 12215 Keaton Avenue, Windsor, Virginia. I just found out about this, but if any of y'all came out to the previous warehouse where my house was and looked, that was staked out 180 feet from my house. I had tractor trailers that were possibly at the time could be sitting in front of my house. When you actually see the distance in the field, 100 and 200 feet is nothing. I mean, a football field is 360 feet. So I would take that into consideration before y'all make a determination on how far it should be from the property line. Because if it's 100 feet, you're basically staying on your property line, 40-foot White House, you're looking straight up in there. No matter if it's 10 trees or 10-foot wall. Then you got noise to contend with, but I know noise study's gonna be included. But please think about that before you make the decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Freeman. Is there anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, all. My name is Glenn Willis. I live at 24291 Lovers Lane. I had read this, the planning package last week, but I will confess I was slightly diverted by other things the end of last week, so I didn't get a chance to look at this in detail until today when my wife asked me if I was going to be home tonight. As I read the red line version of the proposed setbacks, my first impression was I was embarrassed. What some of us have dealt with, and you've had to touch on too for the past 18 to 20 months of dealing with this sort of thing, like I said, it was embarrassing. I recognize this is an ordinance. I was on the Planning Commission in Windsor for about 8 years, so I've had to deal with some of this stuff. And I recognize that you're giving guidelines there. You're trying to decide ordinances that do certain protections and so forth. It's interesting that there's no reference to the size of the building. The cost plus warehouse, if I'm remembering right, is a 1 million square foot building. So you could put a 1 million square foot building on the parcel and have 1,000 trucks going in and out every day, and it's only got to be 100 feet back. I recognize, once again, you're trying to define something that fits the majority of the situations, but wow. Particularly considering things last week and the focus of the TLC project now seeming to be more aligned with manufacturing as compared to warehousing. There's no reference in the ordinance to the type of manufacturing or any limitations there other than type 1 and type 2. So type 1, if I'm reading the ordinances right, and I will be corrected by any of you, includes manufacturing of paint, oil, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, solvents, and other chemicals, 100 foot from a residential area. Type 2, that would be applicable in either LI or GI, production of large durable goods such as automobiles, manufacturers, homes, and other motor vehicles. I'm not anticipating those are going to be something that we're going to be scrambling to deal with in Isle of Wight, but at the same time, the ordinances, you're trying to write ordinances to protect in the future, and I don't see it happening. And again, as I commented in the past, solar farms have a 175-foot buffer from residential. And the uproar that has been happened as solar farms were targeted towards the northern part of the county, just off Old Stage Highway when they were on the other side of the road, and I don't remember the exact dimension, but the uproar that was being caused because these solar panels were being put some distance away. I recognize that I should probably be coming tonight with some specific recommendations and probably some workable solutions, but I do not have any tonight. I do suggest two things, though. Write ordinances that put the citizens first, especially when it comes to health, safety, and quality of life. And secondly, stop pandering to the money. The cries at one of your meetings that, the Economic Development Authority was going to be limited by what they could do. Citizens don't make any difference in that. I close with a comment that was made at an October 24th Board of Supervisors meeting by the collection in those seats, where it was shared, I know how to stop growth, just make a community that nobody wants to live in. And your ordinances are protecting that so that people will want to live there. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, James J. Villers Jr., 12262 Keaton Avenue, Windsor, Virginia. Well, this is like deja vu, isn't it? Well, truth of it is, although my community, as you know, we recently lost our battle, but for any of you who thought I was just here for my home alone, I have to hope I disappoint you, because I'm actually, every time I've come up here, has not been about my homes, but about the entire county. Every citizen, including every citizen sitting in front of me, because you all live in the county, I'm fighting for you, along with everybody else. Ultimately, and in the end, what's being proposed is not good enough. We need to do better, is because we need to have a place that people want to live. So, but anyways, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because Glenn kind of summed it up a lot more detailed than I will. But bottom line is, we need to do better because people deserve a good place to live. So, and that's what all this is about. And I'll just leave you with one saying I kind of heard recently: money talks, and the citizens pay the bill. So, how much is it going to cost us? Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else left to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing on this. Commissioners?
I just have a question for Ms. Sutphin, because I see she's in the audience tonight. The letter that's submitted is the same.
Give her a chance to come back up, so she'll get in first. Okay.
Thank you. The letter that you submitted is the same letter you submitted to us last month, opposing the recommendations, but that was based on 300 feet. Do you have any opinion of what staff has come back with the decreased amount? Because these numbers are now different, obviously.
Right. And I believe I shared with you at the last meeting that this is better from an economic development authority standpoint as far as their properties are concerned. Only one property would be impacted the way the proposed language is today. But I did share a memo with you all yesterday evening, just thanking you for the opportunity to come and share those concerns, and to let you all know that, we will take another look at that property and those impacts when we get ready to develop that piece. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Is there a motion? Change or recommendation?
I guess I'll make the comment, based on, the trend of citizens' comments, because I agree with a lot of what was said. But the ordinance establishes the minimum requirements, and each project is judged on its own merits based on the externalities that it presents, whether that be sound or a particular material being built there, et cetera. And so, minimum requirements themselves are the minimum. And if a unique trait of a particular project comes and warrants a further standoff, we still have it within our capabilities of implementing that.
All right.
Well, but that is if they need some type of rezoning or to come before us. If it's something that's already where, like Shirley Holland, the Intermodal Park, it's already up and running and there for that reason, so they wouldn't necessarily come to us, correct?
So I'm going to ask Christie to jump in case I say this wrong, but for like Shirley T. Holland Phase 2, where Green Mountain Coffee is, there is one parcel in the northeast section that is the 70-acre parcel known as the Nixon Track, I believe, or is that? That is adjacent to an existing neighborhood that has 5 lots or more. And then that is zoned conditional LI, so we would just apply these standards to their site plan when it came in. The other track.
It's the 82, what we were calling the 82-acre site, that is just north of the Keurig property.
Right.
And that has 8 residential lots adjacent to it on Old Suffolk.
So these standards would apply to that. The other piece, I believe, is still zoned RAC that's left in Shirley T. Holland. So they would need to come back before you all and apply for a rezoning at that time.
So
But they
one
are-
of the 3 would come back, the other 2 would not. Is that correct?
So one of the 2 would come back.
One of the 2, okay.
Yeah, and any other parcels that, oh, sorry. Good thing you're here.
We have the Phase 3 piece that's under option with Project Air Station that is still zoned RAC, that needs to be rezoned.
That is the piece that's just to the south of where they are developing now. So there's
Corner of
2
Sunset
pieces
and
of,
258.
right, so there are 2 properties that they own. The one that they're developing now, that's conditional LI. Then there's the other piece that they bought, that's just to the south of it, that is still RAC. It is also outside the VSD. So it'll have to come back for comp plan amendment as well as a rezoning.
So, Ms. Boyd, can you bring up a good point in that case? The ones that wouldn't come back, that do have a unique quality that would warrant some additional standoff. So, I want to point out that that's a good point to make.
All right.
Does staff look at that if it has a unique quality, like say, for example, the manufacturing of some type of hazardous constituent? Would they look at that and say, hey, this probably warrants a higher standoff, or how would that be considered?
So the hazardous materials or particularly noxious uses generally fall within our type 2, type 3 industrial uses, and they're only generally permitted in our general industrial zones, which we don't have a whole lot of. Like Shirley T. Holland Phases 2 and 3 are all LI instead of the heavier or more intense industrial zones. So unless you are, some of our remaining GI tracts are around international paper. And if you fall into one of those uses and you're permitted by right, then you do not have to come back before a public process, and you would just have to meet the minimum standards that are in our zoning ordinances. They are currently written. So we don't have the ability to ask for additional things outside of what the ordinance says. It's only when you come before the planning commission and the board for a conditional use permit or a rezoning.
Thank you, Ms. Ray.
Sure.
All right, any other questions? Anybody would like to make a motion? Be glad to hear your opinion.
Well, that's why, I know 300 feet might have seemed excessive, but that's, exactly why I wanted that.
I think Mr. Stefano made a good point. These are just minimal requirements. I mean, when it comes before us, looking at particular development, we have the right to maybe even ask for more. And I wish we could write a perfect ordinance, but we can't.
And then we showed in the previous slide, and it's going back a month or so, but the other localities in the area, how does the new red line addition compare to those?
So the next strict nearby locality would be the city of Suffolk. So for any new development that's adjacent to residential, they have a 100-foot setback in addition to the landscaping and a berm.
So as written, as a red line presented, equal to or more conservative than Suffolk?
Yes.
I think that was one thing that we were looking at. We asked staff to look at how we would be compared to some of our neighbors around us. Because it seemed like there was nobody that was 300 feet.
Right, if I remember right, Suffolk was one of the more conservative ones on the list, the other ones were as close as 30, is that correct?
Yes, they were right in line with, we were kind of in the middle.
All right. It's a tough one. So anybody want to make a motion? You can't satisfy anybody? I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we send this with the corrections, with the changes for approval.
Second.
All right? Amanda, roll call, please.
Jennifer Boykin,
No.
Thomas DeStefano,
Yes.
James Ford,
Abstain.
George Rawls,
No.
Raynard Gibbs,
Yes.
Matthew Smith,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Bobby Bowser.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. This is forward to the Board of Supervisors for our April 17th meeting. Okay, thank you very much. We have no old business from my understanding. Okay, any new business? Okay, all right, and then moving right along. County Attorney's report tonight.
Nothing to report.
What the county attorney wants to say. Anything for the planning director? Okay, thank you very much, we appreciate it. Before we adjourn tonight, we want to congratulate Mr. DeStefano on his appointment to the Board of Supervisors. He gets to have a dual role now, for a little while anyway, as he can serve on the board here and then also Planning Commission, on the Board of Supervisors. And we wish you the best, sir. Okay, and
Thank you.
keep on fighting for us. All right. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.